What if I told you a single flower once secretly redrew the entire map of Earth? Before this delicate bloom appeared, our planet was a silent green desert with no color. Without it, dinosaurs might still rule today, and humanity would never have evolved at all. Travel back to the age of dinosaurs, when Earth wore an endless cloak of deep green. Towering pine and cypress trees pierced the sky, while ferns blanketed every inch of ground. The wind passing through these ancient forests carried only a faint astringent herbal scent everywhere. But this seemingly vibrant world was actually a silent green desert, eerily quiet and lifeless. There were no colorful hues, no sweet fragrances, no buzzing insects, no fluttering butterflies anywhere. Plants faced a truly fatal dilemma. How could they cross distances and reproduce efficiently here? How could they safeguard the spark of species survival in such a vast green prison? The midday sun blazed mercilessly down upon this ancient Earth covered in unbroken emerald green. Wind sweeping through dense pines stirred up only clouds of fine yellow pollen drifting aimlessly. It brought no trace of vitality, no music of life, only this haunting, eternal stillness. Gymnosperms ruled this world supreme then, silent giants without flowers, fruits, or any sweet rewards. Their reproduction relied entirely on a desperate game of chance played out by the wind. Each season, they exerted enormous strength, releasing massive amounts of pollen into the open sky. Tiny yellow particles, fine as dust, drifted aimlessly across the forests and valleys without direction. Some pollen swept high into the clouds and dispersed completely across vast, empty atmospheric distances. Some fell on scalding rocks and lost their vitality instantly under the relentless burning sun. Others were washed into the soil by rain, never seeing the light of day again. Only 1 in 100 million pollen grains might luckily reach a distant fellow gymnosperm. This wide-net struggle was heartbreakingly inefficient, exhausting plants like travelers, throwing stones in vain hope. Earth was covered in green, yet trapped in this state of slow, inefficient circulation forever. Species diversity was tightly confined, and silence quietly awaited an opportunity to finally be broken. Then, one morning during the Cretaceous period, this ancient silence finally cracked apart at last. A color revolution capable of rewriting Earth's entire ecological history began quietly within the forest. The very first flower in Earth's entire history bloomed gently, glistening with tiny morning dewdrops. It had no sharp fangs like dinosaurs, no towering stature of ancient gymnosperm trees nearby. Yet it possessed the most fatal gentle temptation any living creature had ever witnessed before. Its delicate petals, thin as cicada wings, were dotted with crystal-clear dewdrops, glowing in sunlight. Pink and white veins shimmered with delicate luster, like a treasure carefully carved by patient nature. The stamens were filled with sweet nectar, and faint fragrance drifted gently through the breeze. It cut through forest silence like a gentle call, awakening creatures sleeping for countless ages. Instead of waiting passively for wind, it took initiative and extended an invisible olive branch. It hired insects as exclusive pollination couriers, forging history's first partnership across different living species. Ancestors of bees and butterflies were drawn by this fragrance, fluttering wings to fly over. They landed gently on soft petals, greedily sipping the sweet nectar pooled within each flower. Unbeknownst to them, tiny pollen grains had quietly clung to their fuzzy feet and wings. When they flew contentedly to another flower, the precious pollen was efficiently transferred between them. A precise and efficient pollination was quietly completed, opening a brand new chapter for life. This was a win-win alliance across species, a silent yet shocking partnership full of life. Insects obtained the sweet nectar they relied on for survival and thrived in growing numbers. Flowering plants completely broke free from the heavy yoke of inefficient ancient wind pollination forever. They achieved precise reproduction without wasting energy, releasing massive amounts of pollen into empty winds. This new model gave angiosperms an absolute advantage over the ancient, slow-moving gymnosperms surrounding them. Like energetic pioneers, they took root and spread quietly from the corners of every forest. Small, fluttering flowers grew in stone crevices beside flowing streams winding through the deep woods. Colorful clusters covered the edge of forests, while scattered spots of color dotted vast grasslands. The once monotonous green desert was gradually filled with red, yellow, pink, and purple hues. When wind passed through the forest, it no longer carried only the astringent scent of plants. Now, it brought sweet fragrances of flowers and the crisp, buzzing music of countless insects. Earth finally broke free from silence, becoming vivid, warm, and full of breathing, living vitality. Bees danced from blossom to blossom. Butterflies painted the sky with their delicate, fluttering wings. And the revolution, triggered by a single quiet flower, was far from over here yet. After flowers faded away, angiosperms bore round and plump fruits for the very first time. Some were wrapped in thick flesh, juicy and sweet, with a single, satisfying, delicious bite. Others contained plump kernels rich in oil and concentrated energy, packed for long survival nourishment. These heavy fruits were like energy packs carefully prepared by nature for hungry small creatures. They provided an excellent food source for tiny early mammals and birds living in shadows. In an era when dinosaurs still ruled Earth completely, mammals were small and easily overlooked. These unremarkable creatures hid in forest crevices or underground caves, barely making a daily living. They survived only by relying on the precious fallen fruits of the spreading angiosperm plants. Silently, they accumulated strength, quietly expanding their groups deep in the shadow of giant dinosaurs. Always waiting patiently, these small mammals bided their time for a moment that seemed impossible. Then, one fateful day, an asteroid from outer space crashed into Earth with devastating force. Fire soared into the sky, dust covered the sun, and scalding heat swept across continents. The massive dinosaurs fell one after another in this unimaginable global catastrophe of fire and ash. The once dominant rulers of Earth were instantly buried in the cold dust of history. Forests burned, oceans churned with poison, and the entire planet trembled beneath thick, darkening skies. But those highly adaptable mammals had stockpiled their food carefully through fruits gathered for ages. They relied on sufficient food reserves and flexible survival abilities developed in dinosaur shadows long ago. Through ruins after the disaster, these small creatures struggled determinedly to survive against all odds. They walked out from caves, stepped over endless desolation, and entered a strange new dawn. Quickly they seized empty ecological niches once held tightly by the vanished giant ancient dinosaurs. Step by step they rose, becoming the brand new rulers of the recovering green Earth. With the resilience of life, they completely reshaped the planet's diverse, evolving species landscape forever. From tiny tree dwellers, mammals diversified into countless forms across forests, oceans, plains, and frozen mountains. And eventually, billions of years later, one curious branch of mammals would learn to think. They would gaze upward at distant stars, asking questions about their own ancient, distant origins. All this miracle began with one tiny, gentle flower that dared to bloom in silence. Looking back across hundreds of millions of years, we discover one truly profound hidden truth here. The most powerful force is rarely sharp fangs and claws, nor brute strength and aggression. It is gentle cooperation, mutual benefit, and the quiet, ultimate beauty of partnership across species. A single flower's bloom did not trigger any earth-shaking battles or violent open warfare anywhere. Yet, through silent partnership with insects, it broke ancient ecological rules monopolized by mighty gymnosperms. It rewrote Earth's entire evolutionary trajectory and lit hope for mammals living in deep shadow, transforming Earth from silent green desert into a vibrant, hopeful home for endless living things. But here lies the haunting question that science still cannot fully answer or solve today. Where did this very first flower truly come from, and how did it appear so suddenly? Darwin himself called it an abominable mystery, and the answer may rewrite everything we know. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.